Hey,
Paul, it's Tammy. I'm talking to you through a microphone. Can you hear me okay?
Actually, outside might actually be able to hear you.
You might not
I
can.
can, I can, Tammy. Can you hear me?
Okay, I didn't want to call you on your phone in case you were on through that, but are you good? You are all connected?
Yeah, I'm on the microphone from my computer.
Okay, just make sure you say that you're out of jurisdiction once I call you on the roll, okay?
I will.
All
Thank you.
right. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Okay,
Thanks.
bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Another good evening.
You get to use that tonight.
Baseball players. How's it going, everybody? You going good? All right. Well, I know we on the agenda, we're going to outlaw video games tonight. So hope y'all don't get too rowdy. But tonight I would like to welcome Nathan Young with the Milton Community Church, who will lead us in tonight's invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity we have to come together tonight to do the work of the city of Milton. We thank you for this fine city and for the citizens that you have placed here. And we ask your blessing over our city and over the business of our city. So guide the mayor and the city council members and the city staff and the citizens as issues are discussed tonight, as decisions are made, and as we pursue what would please you as we strive to be a city that welcomes all people. So, Father, I ask that you would give each and every one tonight wisdom and discernment as they go through different topics and different decisions that need to be made. And I also pray that you would help them to reach conclusions that would be good for the flourishing of our city. And then, Father, I pray for protection over our public safety workers. And I thank you for each and every one of them, as even some of them are on watch now, looking out for our good and for our safety. So I pray that you would protect them, protect their families, and bless them for the work that they do in our community. And then finally, Father, I pray for our citizens, and I thank you for all that live in the city of Milton, and I pray that you would bless them. And I even think of these baseball teams that are here tonight, and I thank you for them and the hard work that they put into their World Series, and thank you for the good times that they had with that. So, Father, I ask again for you to bless the city of Milton and for the work that will be done tonight. And it's in the name of Jesus Christ I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Nathan. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, August 21st, 2023 to order. The city strongly recommends that you review tonight's agenda carefully, and if you wish to speak on any item on the agenda, then please bring your comment cards to the clerk as soon as possible. While the Milton rules allow a speaker to turn in their comment card up until the clerk calls the agenda item, once the agenda item is called, no more comment cards can be accepted. Will the city clerk please call the roll and make general announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call roll for the August 21st, 2023 regular council meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Those attending the meeting who would like to make a public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card prior to the agenda item being called. All speakers will identify themselves with name, address, and organization before beginning your comment. If you are representing an organization, an affidavit is required stating you have the authority to speak on behalf of that organization. Please review tonight's agenda, and if you would like to make a comment, please bring your public comment cards to me now. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. As I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Peyton Jamison.
Here.
Councilmember Andrea Veerhoff.
Here.
Councilmember Juliette Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Carol Cookley.
Here.
Councilmember Jan Jacobus.
Here.
And Councilmember Rick Morrig.
Here.
And Councilmember Paul Moore, who is joining us via Zoom.
Yes, I'm here. I am out of jurisdiction in St. Louis.
Thank you. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next is approval of the meeting agenda. I would like to add an executive session to discuss land acquisition, personnel, and potential litigation. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda as prepared with the addition of executive session.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Morgan and a second from Councilmember Verhoff to approve the meeting agenda with the addition of the executive session. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Next is general public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We do, Mayor.
Okay. The next item is general public comment. Public comment is a time for citizens to share information with the mayor and the city council and to provide input and opinions on any matter that is not scheduled for its own public hearing during today's meeting. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. Please remember, this is not a time to engage the mayor or members of the city council in conversation. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone stating your name and address for the record. You will have 5 minutes for remarks. The city encourages you to review the agenda, and if you wish to speak, to bring your comment cards to the city clerk right now. Will the city clerk please call the first public comment?
Mayor, I'd like to invite Miss Mary Cronk to the podium, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Mary Cronk, and I live at 600 Hickory Mill Lane in Milton. Before I begin speaking, I want to say that my statements are made in my capacity as a private citizen and not in my capacity as a DRB member. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening about the proposed FY 2024 budget. As I said before, I very much appreciate the work you do on council. You have a very difficult job because your decisions help determine the future of Milton, and reading through budgets is time-consuming work. Our city was founded on the principle of fiscal responsibility, and we know that you're committed to being good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. I applaud Ms. Harville and the teams who work very hard on this proposed budget. Having the tools that city staff needs to be efficient and effective is very important, but sometimes that requires council asking for more information to make a good budgetary decision, particularly if you're being asked to add more headcount, which we know adds to ongoing expenses to the city. In case you've not had a chance to fully review the proposed budget, because you've got a little while longer to do that, I wanted to share some areas with you where I think more information can help you make better decisions. This also gives an opportunity for residents of Milton, taxpayers, to better understand how our tax dollars are spent. One area where council would benefit from additional information is in the capital improvement plans. Out of the 67 capital improvement plans that are included in this proposed budget, 6 of the plans that are for projects using previously allocated funds don't happen to currently have an explanation in the project description and justification section. And for those who are newer to council, you may not have been on council when these funds were initially approved, and having a description, I think, would provide clarity and complete this document. As an example, and all you guys are so lucky to be able to go through this with me, I'm going to put up the document for my example. You guys, okay. I'm going to start talking a little bit as we go through here. An example of, okay. One example would be the Public Works project that's titled Web at Cogburn TS2-2312, which has an estimated project cost of $600,000, which is being allotted through the T-SPLOS 2 funds. With nothing in the project description area or the justification part, it's difficult to know if this is for sidewalks, crosswalks, or maybe a different type of project altogether. And when I looked up the project on the ClearGov site, I wasn't able to see a project that specifically says Web at Cogburn. If these projects are included in the proposed budget, I think they really should have descriptions in each of those capital improvement plans. And really, there are only 6 that are missing descriptions, so it's not a lot of work to do that. But I think this would be useful, again, to complete the document, but also for Milton taxpayers to know what those funds are being used for. Another example of an area that council could ask additional questions about would be the capital initiative request form for the purchase of a cloud-based access control and video surveillance system at all city facilities and parks. The estimated project cost is $150,000 for 7 cameras. And forgive me if you've already discussed this request at a previous council meeting. If you haven't, I think it might be beneficial to ask a few more questions about the purpose of the system, what it will do for the city if it's implemented. And if the goal is to have this system in all city facilities and parks, will we need more than 7 cameras? And if we do, what would the estimated total spend be to fully implement the system? Where will the cameras be placed? And will the cameras provide a live feed? And will anyone be monitoring that? So what would be the purpose for those cameras and what do we hope to achieve? These are just a couple examples of questions that I believe council should be asking in order to make the best budgetary decisions for the taxpayers of Milton. And again, thank you for your time and consideration of these suggestions.
Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes general public comment.
Okay, I will close public comment and we'll move on to the consent agenda. Will the city clerk please sound the items?
Mayor, that first item is approval of the August 7th, 2023 regular city council meeting minutes, agenda item number 23211. Item B is approval of the August 14th, 2023 work session meeting minutes, agenda item number 23212. And C is approval of the August 14th, 2023 special called city council meeting minutes, agenda item number 23213. D is approval of the financial statements and investment report for period 9 of June 2023, agenda item number 23214. E is approval of a construction services agreement between the city of Milton and Prudencio Hernandez Romero doing business as Exceed Tree Care for the cleanup of fallen trees at Providence Park, Birmingham Park, and the Milton City Park and Preserve. Agenda item number 23215. F is approval of an order form agreement with addendum number 1 between the Fulton Communications, Inc., doing business as Vertical Communications, Inc., and the City of Milton for implementation of a hosted voice over IP phone services. Agenda item number 23216. G is approval of an MSA between GoTo Communications, Inc. and the City of Milton for hosted voice over IP phone services. Agenda item number 23217. H is approval of a professional services agreement between the City of Milton and William F. Ross, doing business as Ross Plus Associates, for the preparation of the Impact Fee Program Amendment. Agenda item number 23218. I is approval of a professional services agreement between the City of Milton and It's My Party, LLC, for rental equipment at Crabapple Fest 2023. Agenda item number 23219. Our final consent item is J, approval of subdivision plats and revisions. The name of the development is Lot 9 Canterbury on the Lake, Ron Barber, at 210 Canterbury Lane. It's land lot 457 and 458, District 2, Section 2. It is a minor plat to subdivide the parcel into 2 lots. Lot 9A will contain 4.187 acres, and Lot 9B will contain 3.863 acres, with a total of 8.05 acres and a density of 0.25 lots per acre. It's agenda item number 23220. Mayor?
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Rock, paper, scissors.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve agenda item number 23-220.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Cookerly and a second from Councilmember Jacobus to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, we will move on to reports and presentations. Will the city clerk please say on the first item?
Mayor, that first item is a proclamation recognizing the Dizzy Dean World Series champions from Hopewell Baseball. Mayor Peyton Jameson.
Thank you. So I am honored tonight. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room, a lot of all-stars, a lot of champions. The rumor is that y'all did a fantastic job over the summer. And I will tell you, myself, as the rest of the city council and staff and everybody in Milton is very proud of you, and your hard work does pay off. So with that, I'm going to read this proclamation, and then we're going to do a picture for the 6U team. And then we're going to do a picture for the 7U team. And then we're all going to do a group picture. So I don't know who's going to be in charge of that. Maybe Miss Tammy will be in charge of that.
I'm your girl.
So, okay. All right. So this is a proclamation recognizing Hopewell Baseball's 2 Dizzy Dean World Series champions. Whereas Hopewell Baseball is a Milton area institution that's given thousands the opportunity to compete, excel, and develop as players and people. And whereas this program has produced major league players and, as importantly, individuals who have thrived and made our community proud. And whereas 2 Milton Mustangs All-Star teams that shine this summer are very worthy of such admiration and great representatives of our city. And whereas they both spent 2 weeks preparing from their home base at Bell Memorial Park before challenging others in competitions around the region. And whereas the 6U squad compiled a 21-4 record during the All-Star season, including titles in the Early Bird Dash, Dizzy Dean Districts, and Dizzy Dean States. And whereas Hopewell's 7U team, meanwhile, went 15-4 over the summer en route to their own Dizzy Dean Districts Championship. And whereas both teams advanced to the Dizzy Dean World Series in South Haven, Mississippi, playing against teams from around the Southeast. And whereas the 6U Mustangs went 4-1, capped by a come-from-behind walk-off 10-9 win to capture their Dizzy Dean World Series championship. And whereas their 7U counterparts, also from Hopewell, sported the same 4-1 mark that culminated in a 7-3 title game victory over Starksville, Mississippi. And whereas the city of Milton celebrates with these boys and wishes them more success both on and off the field. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, hereby recognize and honor Hopewell's 6U and 7U teams for their Dizzy Dean World Series championships. And this is given under our hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on the 21st day of August of 2023. Congratulations.
So I'm going to ask the 6U players to come to the front, and the mayor will hand you your proclamation. And when you get your proclamation, I want you to come in front of the dais here, okay? And I want you to come right here. I want you to walk. Mayor, why don't you stand right here, if you don't mind?
I'll take a dozen.
I'm sure they'll give them to you.
Oh,
We're done.
You want us to sit or stand? Stand?
I'm here.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Hi, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Ready?
I love those
Rings.
springs.
Oh my
Can't you see them?
We're ready? 3, 2, 1. Perfect. You got your Next one for the group one.
I'm going to ask my 7U players up.
Love the haircut. The haircuts are something else.
Fade.
And the chain. Oh,
Great job there, Coach.
Yes, in fact.
Good. How are you?
yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Can I get a ring? Ring? Got an extra ring?
Yeah.
Real one?
Okay, do not move, do not move, do not move.
This is really good.
This is.
I'm gonna have all my
Just
players
kidding.
come up. Y'all just filter in, okay?
No, coach.
So all kind of, there you go.
How are we gonna do this? Okay, yes.
Yeah. That's huge.
Here, guys, can you back up a little bit?
Oh, that's huge.
Scoot back.
Oh, yeah.
Scoot back. There we. Actually, you know what?
Hi, everybody right here. Hey, everybody look right here. Smile.
Ready?
Levi.
3,
Right here. Smile.
2. You guys want one?
Everybody smile. Now, Mary, don't kill me. I have to do one silly pick, really quick. One silly pick. Look this way. Ready? I do this every time. The mayor hates it when I do this. Ready? One silly. 1, 2, 3. Silly. That's good. Woo! Thank you, guys. I hope you guys.
All right. Y'all clear out. Otherwise, y'all can stay for a military hearing. Yeah. All right. There.
Behind all those kids.
Okay. Will the city clerk please say on the next item?
Mayor, that next item is the discussion of the short-term work program projects, one being the Arnold Mills Small Area Plan, and number 2, the larger lot zoning categories. Our planner, Ms. Shuba Jangam. Is it? It would do just a second.
Is it being projected? Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Shubha Jangam on behalf of Community Development Department. I'm here for a discussion of 2 comprehensive plan projects, Arnold Mill Small Area Plan and Large Lot Zoning categories, as you can see on the screen. My goal is to give you some background on these projects and get direction from you on each of these projects. So the first one, Arnold Mill Small Area Plan, It's listed on short-term work program of comprehensive plan as create a small area plan for Arnold Mill, which reflects the master plan and its character area narrative. It's very well consistent also with Milton's strategic plan. Strategic plan's smart planning goals. A little bit of funding history. It's in FY 2023 budget, adopted budget, $100,000 were approved, and then it was later amended to request additional $25,000. We haven't spent any money, so if approved, total budget will be available for us to work with is $125,000. Almost 10 years ago, city did a visioning study for Arnold Mill area. And if you look at the map, all the purple is the State Route 140 corridor that is Arnold Mill area. And it is also one of the character area in comprehensive plan. And as you can see, it borders Roswell as well as Cherokee on the north. So in 2013, when city did this visioning study, it was done with the community input, and it delivered a set of recommendations for us to work with. So it was a really high-level plan, but there are some key takeaways that I would like to let you know. In terms of land use, the study said that the city should guide the new development into one or two small nodes, small commercial nodes with design-oriented zoning, and reserve the most of the corridor for rural and agricultural use. For transportation as well, the plan had some recommendations, and it was more about creating more connections to the mainland. And these are two pictures from the visioning study. One example was extending the Cox Road through New Providence Road, and other one was extending New Road near the existing power line easement. The visioning study back then also looked at Chadwick landfill, and it was not closed back then. So it just listed some potential low intensity passive uses for future, and also said city could study the feasibility of leasing agreement with this private development. I would like to note that this is closed now. However, it is not accessible for any public, public use for next 25 years. So back to what's happening there now. There are a few updates. As you can see, city has a new green space on the Lackey Road, which has an entry on the corridor, and it has a new recreational facility at Cox Road. Also, as I said, Chadwick landfill has closed. The picture in the middle, that is how it looks like, Chadwick landfill now. And there is upcoming Ebenezer Church Activity Center that Community Development Department has approved. The picture on the top right is showing how it's going to look like. On the bottom, there is a picture of gas station that's also approved by our department. It has a retail component to it. And there are some proposed improvements at the crossroad of Cox Road and State Route 140 that are proposed by Public Works Department. So in terms of location, I would like to show where are those things. Here's a Chadwick landfill over here at the north part of the corridor. The gas station is close by. Green space park is over here. Church Activity Center is across our park at Cox Road. So those are the locations and pictures. However, those are interesting new updates. However, we are still working with old ongoing challenges such as lack of sanitary sewer, absence of schedule for widening of this highway, this corridor, because it is planned on the regional transportation plan, but there is no real program for it to widen. And the boundary intermingles with the city of Roswell and Cherokee County. The study area is almost like a 3-mile corridor. It's nearly 100 parcels, almost 520 acres. The small area plan for this could achieve some of these goals that are mentioned here, like explore and develop the city's vision for the corridor built out, obviously with community feedback and input, identify contextual design elements for this commercial nodes, and create an action plan to work with other jurisdictions that impact this area. As you know, some services are not provided by the city. The county provides some services, and a lot of land is in the city of Roswell. So, we want to work with all those jurisdictions to do whatever we want to do in future. So with that, the feedback that we would like to receive is, when do you prefer us to start this project? And this is consistent with our budget feedback that Bernadette has been working with. So next year, within next 3 to 5 years, or don't do it at all?
Yep, question, any questions for Shuba? Discussion?
Can we answer that
Yeah,
question?
absolutely.
Hi, Shuba. I have taken numerous calls from landowners in that area, and Mr. Krokoff and Bob, Mr. Buscemi, everybody's aware of that, and they have too. I think the sooner the better.
Okay.
Because our plan of 10 years ago is outdated, and we need to put some attention into that and have some final answers, and I think that's appropriate for my point of view.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Any other council discussion?
What kind of requests have we been getting from citizens in this area?
So there, as I said, there is a visioning plan. So we had some high level idea of what community wanted, but obviously when we restart, we would reaffirm this is what they want again, and we will work with that information and all the new existing information that's available.
And how long will the study be by the time you get the participation?
We will start detailing all the scope of work as soon as, now you said yes, so tomorrow I'll start detailing all the scope of this project. And we have to work with this consultant, because they will bring in more expertise for this project that we really need. So I'm hoping to get it done a year, or
Okay.
a year is not unreasonable, I guess.
Okay, thank you. And you're going to you all will make an extraordinary effort to contact all the landowners and
Yes, we will do
everybody's
that.
participation. Thank you very much.
So I don't know if I have a question, but maybe a statement that might end up in a question. So I know we looked at this many years ago, and it was going to be a form-based code,
Mhm.
and that got set aside. So I think, I'm okay with us going forward because it is in the comp plan, it's in our other plans. But I do want everyone to be aware that, this is an AG1 zoned
Yes.
area. So anything that might be coming out of this could potentially be a fully rezoned area plan, correct?
It could be a
I
recommendation.
cannot say that
Correct, a
because
recommendation.
It would not
that's what they tried to do last time, the major overhaul. And I guess it was withdrawn later. Was it withdrawn? Yes, it was withdrawn. So, but we will take what is sensible now from that plan or whatever, that proposal, and we'll use it.
Any other questions?
Peyton, if I can make a comment, please?
What's that?
Councilmember
I'd like
Moore
to,
speaking.
Yeah, Shuba, I'd just like to point out on your slide, when you talked about the challenges, you suggested that one of the challenges is the lack of sewer.
Right.
Yes.
I would point out that the lack of sewer is exactly why that area is what it is. I don't see that as a challenge at all. I see the lack of sewer as actually a benefit to the area to ensure that that part of Milton stays the AG1 representation, except for the areas that are identified as commercial. So the lack of sewer is not a problem. It's actually a benefit. I'd like to see you change that slide.
Okay.
Yeah, to your point, it has made Milton different and unique. So
Exactly.
that's a good point.
And I would assume that part of the study is to inform citizens of that there is not going to be store, the landowners, so that, there's an understanding that there'd have to be something done differently.
Yeah, the landowners get the opportunity to be heard.
Well,
I
that's,
mean, that's important.
and informed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have development on that property as long as it's consistent with the ability to use the septic systems that have been available to us all along.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, I guess my point I was getting at was we're going to spend $125,000 on a plan. I want council to be aware at the end of that plan, there's going to be a recommendation that there could be the potential of this sewer or package plants. And if council's not on board with that, let's save the money and just move on. I think that's kind of where I was going with that. But
If that's where you're going.
Well,
then
I
think there's,
state right away then, Peyton, if the idea is to extend sewer, I would be opposed to the launching of any study.
I didn't say that there's a potential to extend sewer. It's all up to you guys.
so
No, but that's what the mayor is saying, Shuba.
No, he said septic tank or package plant.
the package plan,
Package
what you're
plants.
talking about is the same type of thing that we did near the Publix, right?
correct.
Right.
So that's one part, but the extension of store is not. So the idea here is to be very clear that that's all we're looking at. If the plan includes the other, then I'm not in favor of spending the money
I
either.
understand. Yep.
So I guess my question is, can y'all do the plan without the whole extension of sewer? And we will look at that.
Totally.
Okay.
If that's what you want.
You just cut the budget in
Yeah.
half.
Councilman Moore?
Shuba, this whole area, is it part of, when we did the urban growth boundaries, did we do anything in this area?
No,
as far as
We
protecting?
did not put this area into urban growth boundary area at all.
Okay, so we haven't done anything in that area.
No.
It is, the zoning is what it is in the comprehensive
Yes.
land use plan. Okay.
Council, everybody, do you have feedback on that? Are you good?
Can I ask a quick clarification? So the $25,000 request will be in the September budget amendment. Everyone was all right with that being included in that amendment?
Everybody good with that? Okay. Yep.
You'll see that again
Thanks for
in a
that.
few weeks.
Thank you, Sheba.
Thank you very much.
No, I have another project.
Oh, okay.
Two.
Double
So-
hitter tonight, Shuba?
So the next one on my list is larger lot zoning with incentives, and comprehensive plan says that pursue larger lot zoning categories such as AG 5, 10, 15. And the picture that you are seeing over here is from comprehensive plan. And it shows how it is consistent with the overall theme of preservation. That's the feedback that we had received. So that's why CPAC had put this project on the short-term work program list. And AG 5, 10, 15 refers to, since AG 1 is a minimum 1 acre, they were trying to, conceptually, they were trying to have set of regulations for 5-acre lots, 10-acre lots, or 15-acre lots. I mean, they just want us to explore that option. Again, this project is also very well consistent with Milton's strategic plan's goal of promoting equestrian and farm lifestyle, and consistent with smart land planning goals. Quick budget history: in 2019, there was a budget of $35,000 for a project, and I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. We almost spent 25,000 out of that. In 2023 is adopted budget, $30,000 were added, and that was amended later to add $20,000 more. So I'm told that if approved, the available is $60,000 for us to work for on this project. So, so in 2019, we had proactively started this project, equestrian zoning and large lot incentive study, and it was focused more on equestrian land uses. And during that study, we explored the incentives for encouraging equestrian and agricultural land uses, finding relief from current zoning ordinance, some offering for procedural expediency, and identifying some non-zoning related incentives. So we'll be picking up where we left off in 2019 for this project, and with our new goals of reducing the intensity of regulations depending on the size of the property. As I explained, we will have a tiered approach of 5 acre, 10 acre, and more incentives for the larger properties. Not to try to punish the people who have 5 acres, but try to give more incentives for larger property owners, and to establish the standards and procedures for the uses of large property. So those are the goals of this project. So I would like to know again, when do you see us appropriate to start this project? Next year, or within next 3 to 5 years, or don't do it at all?
I just don't get this. I mean, to me, that's an awful lot of money to spend on something that we know we want. We want larger lots. I think the question is, what do we want to give to get those larger lots? And I think that's more of a general conversation, maybe a work session with council on what are we willing to do in areas where we want to incentivize the larger lot. I'm not sure I want to spend $60,000 to have an outsider tell us what we want.
Well, haven't we been doing it? Don't you negotiate all the time?
We do.
Because I would think 3 acre is also included in this. I mean, I would think anything above an acre as we move up might get some additional incentives. But I think it's more of a conversation with council and with staff about what we need versus paying $60,000 to have a consultant tell us something that maybe we can come up with ourselves. Maybe not, but.
What do you all think?
Well, I think that there's zoning, things on the zoning table that we would look at. There was some non-zoning issues, tax incentives and other types of incentives for these larger lots. We're really looking to concentrate on incentivizing the much larger lots, not the 3s, but the 5s, 10s, and 20s. So like if you have 20 acres and you want to have a horse farm, and you know, where's the run-in go? Where's the accessory dwellings go? A lot of times people want to have extra staff and housing and things like that, other uses that might go on there. So what we're looking to do is go out and get we have some good ideas and we put them together. We're kind of hoping to get some extra help on the outside to really try to put this together holistically to see how it's going to impact the city totally, in totality, and other things that might come up that people can think of that would be on the table as an incentive for these larger lots.
Maybe.
So, excuse me, were you looking then to get help with equestrian properties, land use in terms of equestrian properties?
Equestrian is one of the largest
Whatever.
ones, and yeah, we were looking for some expertise that people can come in and sit it down with us and say, look, these are certain things we could do for any large lot owner and different uses that might go on the lot. Sometimes we have larger lots and people want to do, there's other uses in AG1 as well, so.
I would just say that the practicing horse people here with the expertise on the committee and others, I mean, I feel like you're more than covered on that. I mean, I don't know what else there might be. I mean, it's a good discussion to have because for one, I don't want to lose tree canopy. I don't want that to be a gimme, so there's
Yeah.
certainly things to parse through. And I understand that, but to your point, analysis paralysis, at some point we have to arrive, and you're negotiating all the time and having all these wins. It just kind of surprises me.
We do have a good scorecard.
Yes, you
I will
do.
tell you that.
Very
Our
good.
Yeah,
scorecard has
I think it
been
would
very
be
good.
beneficial
But,
to maybe have a work session where we bring in the planning commission.
okay,
So maybe
Do
it's
combined.
council, planning commission, sit down and talk. And if at the end of it, we don't make the progress we think we should have, then maybe we look at spending the money. But I think this is something we can do ourselves.
Yeah, I pledge to you, the best equestrian land use people out there for free.
Councilor
For
Moore?
free.
Yeah, I'd add to that, if we do a work session like that, we ought to bring in the equestrian committee, open it up so we get comments, because if that's what we're trying to work towards, it's not just a planning thing. We need to have input from people who actually live on these properties, because at some point in time, they're going to sell. We've seen that happen over time. So I guess my question is on the first thing, the comprehensive plan 2040 short-term work program, are you suggesting a formal rezoning to these categories?
No.
Or are you saying you want to try to have
Just
incentivized, like you've been
incentive.
doing with, the different, like Champions View?
yes.
Where you work with the builders, try to incentivize or work with the property owners to come up with things that actually are more in line with what we'd like to see developed.
Which is more in line of what I was looking to do, because if I go in there and try to do a rezoning, I'm gonna have people telling me that
Yeah.
I'm taking away their land rights.
It's land
So I'd
rights.
rather, but the incentive programs have been working. We're very, very successful on the incentive programs.
But I can see that you come up with different scenarios and what people want, and what you might think. And so in an ongoing basis, you need a number of relationships with people with different skills that you can maybe call and talk things through. Maybe we need to help find those.
And Bob,
We can-
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Yeah, Bob, like you said, you had some great ideas, and I know you are continually to incentivizing these developers that come in. So maybe to Councilman Jacobus's point, maybe that's a good idea to maybe we all get in the room with the planning commission. Let us know what ideas you're working on, what you think you might be doing, and then if we think we want to continue forward with that to really get it nailed down in a zoning, then we can move forward or something.
Yeah, no,
The
totally
other
agree.
thing that I think we need to be careful of is that all large lots don't go to equestrian individuals.
Right.
And so to me, there's the other side of that is there's those individuals that come to Milton just to get away. They want their privacy. It's not that they necessarily want to raise horses, but they like the tree canopy. They like just having their privacy, a place to spread out with their family. So I think there's another way to look at this as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of different paths, and I think we've started to outline them. I guess the ask tonight was, she was looking for some assistance from an outside consultant to kind of help us put it together, but we could certainly handle it in-house. At least in the beginning, we could put this together, bring it back to y'all. That's why we're here tonight, for that feedback.
And do it
I think it's good direction. We'll
Maybe
do
it's a
that.
start. Maybe
Councilman
It is
Moore?
a good start.
Yeah,
I think we
I-
could do that.
So in 2019, we did work with equestrian committee because our focus was equestrian. So we had taken some uses to low transportation impact uses to equestrian committee to see if these would work as an incentive for larger lots, something like that. We can pick up over there and then bring it to you, all the ideas.
I hear you. This might be a good start. We can see
Okay.
what you need.
Perfect. Exactly
Councilor
the
Moore?
type of feedback we were looking
Okay.
for tonight.
I like the idea that what council has been saying is do it more of a work session and get the right parties at the table. The other thing I think you could help is you've been successful with this, Bob, and your team has been successful in actually maximizing this. And I know that's a lot of work on your side. I'd be interested in hearing what are the type of incentives, what are the tools you have when we talk about this that actually work or have been working? What are you thinking of so that we're aware of kind of what's in your toolbox when
A
you
little
talk
bit of
about
feedback.
incentives?
Gotcha. That's perfect.
Thanks.
No problem at all. It's good feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything
Thank you.
else?
Appreciate it.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
all.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sheba. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, will the city clerk please say on the next item?
Mayor, that next item is the discussion of the Milton City Park and Preserve concept plans for passive park improvements. Our city engineer, Mr. Steve Steve, I'm sorry. Mr. Scott Takach. Hey, Steve. Sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Scott Koch, your city engineer, and I'm here tonight to provide a brief update on the progress of the design of the passive park enhancements at the Milton City Park and Preserve, formerly the Milton Country Club. This is a brief outline of my presentation today. I won't bore you with all the bullet items on here, but just want to kind of show you where we're going. Oh, and I would also respectfully request that if you have questions, feel free to interrupt me. So looking at our history, we purchased the property in 2018 utilizing green space bond funds in the amount of $4.5 million. A master plan for the park was completed and approved by council in August of 2019. We completed phase 1 improvements in April of 2022, which included an approximate 1.25 mile decomposed granite trail and some drainage enhancements. We applied for and did not receive grant funding in 2021, but we used our scores to evaluate and go back to the Georgia Department of Natural Resources in 2022. And we improved our scores significantly. And then a council approved resolution supporting the application, which was a condition of the grant. You did that twice. The Georgia Department of Natural Resources provided the city with notification of a grant award in September of 2023. The city has signed that grant award, and we anticipate that the Department of Natural Resources will sign the award probably this week. And that will start the clock. We've got 2 years to get this thing designed and built. So it's a very aggressive schedule. In June of 2023, council approved a 30% design contract with Moffitt and Nichols. And they have met those contractual obligations and frankly did a really good job with a very compressed schedule. And so staff was in contract or scope and fee negotiations for 100% design contract. Our public works director just approved that late last week. And so staff will be queuing that up for a new contract for council's contemplation probably in the next couple of weeks. In terms of the project scope, this is a conceptual plan that I'm guessing some of you probably have seen before. Phase 1 is the blue line on this graphic. That's again already constructed. Phase 2 is the pink line and would be adjacent to Chicken Creek. And we're trying to move that as close to Chicken Creek as we can without violating any of the buffers because we'd like to be able to provide view shed opportunities for the public. And then phase 3 is a multi-use sidewalk adjacent to Dinsmore Park, and the graphic shown as the orange line. I will be asking for some direction from council this evening on whether that sidewalk should be concrete or asphalt. And I'll bring that up later in the presentation. All 3 project components, the trail, the hydrology, and the habitat restoration of the project reflects priorities detailed in the property's community-driven, council-approved master plan. Just to get into a little bit of detail about the project scope, we're going to talk about trail expansion, the drainage improvements, the habitat restoration. The cartoon that you see on the right-hand side is just a standard graphic that we use in the engineering plans. It kind of just shows you what it's going to look like. So the project goal is to build on the existing passive park use for the public, as well as return the property to a pre-golf course condition. Specifically, the project will add 0.25 miles of sidewalk, 1.25 miles of new trail along the property perimeter, thus completing an approximately 2.5 mile trail around the property's perimeter. The trail will be ADA compliant to the best of our ability. Staff has identified 6 areas in the master plan that will serve as stormwater treatment areas. The failing infrastructure, stormwater infrastructure of the golf course use will be removed and replaced with green infrastructure such as bioswales that will improve the water quality of stormwater discharging to Chicken Creek. The project will also contemplate hydraulic connectivity between the 2 ponds at the southern edge of the project, which would enhance the fish habitat. And just as a fun fact, it's very likely that the endangered Cherokee darter is present in Chicken Creek. We'll also be looking at installing docks on those ponds for fishing and viewshed observation opportunities. And finally, the project will remove invasive plants and replace them with native plants, which will create habitat for birds and other wildlife. This is one of the graphics that our engineers generated during the 30% design milestone, and it kind of details existing and proposed trail alignments, boardwalks, viewshed areas, docks, sidewalks, habitat enhancement areas, fountains for the ponds, which will improve the water quality, as well as some of the proposed green infrastructure areas. Without getting into too much detail, this graphic does kind of detail where, again, some of the docks would go, where some of the habitat enhancement areas would go, existing detention ponds, things like that. The next slide deals with the proposed project funding. The project budget is approximately $3 million to $3.6 million. And the funding sources would be ARPA in the amount of $1.2 million to $1.86 million, and those would be used for stormwater improvements. T-SPLOST 2 would fund the sidewalk in the amount of about $300,000, and the grant in the amount of $1.5 million would fund the trail work and habitat enhancements. The project schedule is we would like to obtain approval from council for the 100% design in the next couple of weeks. Complete the design in January of 2024. Obtain a construction contract approval from City Council in March of 2024. And complete the construction on or before September 25th. So that's basically 18 months to get it built. Finally, I'd like to talk about project partnerships. So in accordance with the city's 2022-2025 strategic plan, staff is engaging with the Audubon Society to conduct a bird audit and make recommendations for a bird-focused environmental initiative. Initially, we will be engaging them to assist with plant selections. They have graciously agreed to provide input on the design plans at the various design milestones, and this slide has a graphic of an example sign that they would help us design. And I think, are we paying for that, sir? Are we anticipating that we'll be paying for that signage? It would be part of the project. Okay, thank you. And then finally, staff will be engaging the Wood Valley, North Valley, and the Fieldstone Farms neighborhoods at the 60% design milestone, which is the next milestone. So that event will be happening at the clubhouse probably in the next month or two. And that really concludes my presentation. I'm sorry for the brevity, but so I'd like to open it up for any questions or feedback, comments, and then I would again respectfully ask for some direction on what you'd like the sidewalk to be made out of along Dinsmore, asphalt or concrete.
Councilor Moore?
Yeah, just a question on that. Can you tell us for that phase 3, what's the cost if you do concrete versus asphalt, and what's the lifespan expectability? What do we expect it to be if you do concrete or you do? So I'm trying to look at a cost benefit analysis before we make a decision, understand how does that work out? Do you have those figures?
Mayor, council, I don't have the exact figures, but I've been doing this a long time, so I can kind of speak in generalities. Concrete generally is going to be a little more expensive, but it's easier to fix. If you have a broken panel, it's easy to go in and do it. If you have asphalt, you have to wait until the city has an asphalt contractor procured it's not like we don't have asphalt contractors in the city every year. It's just you'd have to put in cold patch and then wait for an asphalt plant to come up and before you could repair it. So in my mind, the concrete gives it more of a street feel. Asphalt would give it more of a rural feel. And so it really is an aesthetics thing. And in terms of the overall cost, that cost differential is not going to be significant compared to the overall cost of the project.
So the maintenance would be more cost or on the asphalt. Is that what you're saying?
If it's broken, yes.
Okay.
Potentially.
Potentially.
And how far off the road is this path going to be, or this sidewalk going to be?
So we have currently, through part of the sidewalk alignment, existing sidewalk, and you've got about 2 feet of clear space, like a grass strip area
Just before you actually get onto
between the curb and the gutter and the side of the sidewalk. So if we are going to try to keep a little bit of a clear area where we can, because it just provides a higher level of comfort for people using the trail. And we anticipate there will be probably some small retaining walls, but we're trying very hard to stay within the existing right-of-way and not have to purchase additional right-of-way.
So we do have then additional right-of-way if we want to move interior away from the road as we widen, not put it right next. Because that's the concern I see is when we count these as trails, if they're right on top of the road, it's not really a trail. It's a sidewalk and it doesn't have a feel of a trail as cars are flying by.
Yeah. That's a good point. We have a little bit of room, not a lot. A 10-foot sidewalk is actually a pretty good piece of real estate. People feel pretty comfortable biking and pushing baby carriages and things like that. But yes, we're going to try to have that reserve that clear area where we can.
Okay.
What does it connect? Does it connect to concrete? I'm assuming
It would connect to the where the tennis court parking lot is. So I believe that's asphalt. And so we haven't completely defined yet how we're going to connect to that asphalt parking lot.
I guess I'm in on Dinsmore. Is there a concrete path that it's going to connect to, or is it
Mayor, there's existing sidewalk
there
close to the parking lot.
Okay.
And so that sidewalk is probably going to be removed and replaced with the new path.
But I mean, I guess more north and south. Are we going to go from concrete to asphalt to concrete, or?
That decision hasn't been made yet.
I guess my question is there any existing sidewalks on both sides of it?
Dinsmore, like
Dinsmore.
across Chicken
Oh,
Creek,
I see across the
and then the other direction.
gravel path.
Connecting to the ground.
Okay, thank you.
So along Dinsmore, it's a gravel path now versus cement sidewalks.
Interior to the park is a gravel path.
But
And
right,
so we're
so-
connecting
What about
both
along the
sides of the
road?
But
park.
you're talking, what I'm seeing here in this map is that it runs along Dinsmore Road.
Right.
is there anything on Dinsmore right now?
Are we,
There's some
That's going
small
to connect,
sidewalk.
There is some sidewalk,
which is concrete, I'm assuming.
concrete.
Okay.
so where is going through the expense of putting this concrete on Dinsmore? Do people actually walk on that side of it there? I mean, is that something that we need, or is it really inside the park that it's needed?
It's my opinion that it would be nice to have it inside the park, but I think that's going to be a lot more expensive. And
No. My question is, do we need the sidewalk along Dinsmore really?
Because it connects the loop, I think.
That's what it does.
And I think what that does is that someone doesn't have to double back and do the
Correct.
whole loop to get
I
back. This
see.
allows you to
Okay.
have a reasonable walk if you want to do one way versus having to double back.
Yep.
Just a question. I think Peyton the mayor was trying to get at. So this is going to connect our trail up to the tennis courts. That's what we're talking about. On the other side of Chicken Creek along Dinsmore, is there something that if we did concrete, are we connecting to a sidewalk, or is that unfinished, no sidewalk as you head east on Dinsmore? And then question also, once we get past the park, heading out towards Freemanville, is there sidewalk there that we would be connecting to? Is it walkable on both sides today?
There's very few patches of sidewalk on Dinsmore. And the idea with this too is it would be the wider width. So going from where the sidewalk is typically a 5-foot width, this would be more of that trail fill. So whether it's concrete or asphalt, it's going to be that multi-use width to provide both directions of travel.
This is really more standalone to the park. It's not connectivity to the neighborhoods to get to that on either side, correct? Because we don't really have that today.
So the use of concrete or asphalt instead of like a crushed stone is for handicap accessibility, or, I mean, to me, a
In the-
trail is more of a crushed stone than a cement sidewalk.
In the right of way, it's more of the, part of it is the maintenance. That section of Dinsmore is very steep. So that with the topography, you really want that harder surface material in the concrete or asphalt.
I mean, we could probably spend 30 minutes debating concrete or asphalt. I guess I'll ask you on this. I know the rural feel sounds great. We'll want to do the asphalt because we're going to have a passive park that makes sense. I can see the advantages for the concrete. So my question is, what is your opinion on that? Because I don't feel like there's a council like we're all on one or the other. So
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Moore.
Yeah, thank you. I know that one of the things that Scott talked about was the prospect of engaging the community on this. I think before we draw a conclusion on this between mayor and council, where what I'm hearing is a lot of indecision from us. I know the people who have the most insight on this will be the folks who live on Dinsmore and the folks who live in North Valley. I think that the faster we get to engage the community on this, who will have an interest in really what is a larger sense of community in that area. The whole North Valley area is something pretty darn unique, especially when you get to the other side of the creek and you've got that long pasture with the beautiful row of trees on either side of the gravel road. I bet those folks would love to weigh in on this before we make a decision on asphalt or concrete as a council.
I think that makes perfect sense. And I know y'all have been actively communicating with them for many years. So I think y'all have their contacts. Is council okay with that? If they,
Yeah, works for me.
Yeah. Okay.
And was
Yeah,
it-
and assuming council approves the 100% design contract that we're going to bring before you, we can have our engineer take a look at costs for both asphalt and concrete prior to that public
The
meeting.
other
but
question I
what's
have,
the price for the contract?
I want to say it was around 280,000.
Is that in our budget?
That's budgeted, correct?
It is.
C-Splosh dollars or we have,
That is predominantly going to be ARPA money, I believe.
Okay.
But we have some grants reporting requirements. And so I did work with the finance director before we set this project up to be able to have specific budgets so that we can charge appropriately to it. And we're kind of working through that right now.
Okay.
since we have Tom in the audience, Tom, can you give us an idea of what type of traffic we're seeing in the park, that part of the park today? I mean, are we seeing, 50 people a month or 10 people or, I mean, what type of traffic are you
Just on
seeing?
the open part of the trail.
Yeah.
We don't have number counts. When I'm there, there's always someone. I mean, I don't see like crowds of people going up and down, but we definitely do have traffic going through the park. And we get walking traffic from the neighbors too. They'll go from their backyard, go for a walk. So it's hard to really quantify and put a number on it, if I'm being honest. But I do know the trails are getting used.
Councilman Jacobus, to your point, I'm an avid runner, and I'll say I don't use that trail as much because it's only 1.25 miles. I want something that's going to be longer, so I can do like.
So the whole loop
Yeah,
would be more
That's
beneficial.
so when you say it's 2.5 miles, I can do 2 loops in 5 miles, and that's good compared to doing like 4. So that's one of the reasons I don't use it as much as other places around
Okay.
town. So
Thanks, Tom.
are we good on that? Did you
Yep.
get some marching orders?
I got some marching orders, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We will move on to first presentation. Will the city clerk please sound the item?
Mayor, that first item is consideration of RZ 2302, a text amendment with respect to notification requirements for various types of land use permits and variance requests and other procedural updates to comply with the latest amendment to Georgia State Zoning Procedure Law in Chapter 64 Zoning of the City of Milton Code. It's agenda item number 23221. B, it's consideration of RZ 2303, a text amendment with respect to the following alcohol-related uses of limited food service restaurant and limited tap establishment within Chapter 64 zoning of the City of Milton City Code. Agenda item number 23222. Mayor?
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion on the first presentation items?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the first presentation as read.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Verhoff and a second from Councilmember Johnson to approve the first presentation items as read. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. So we will move on to the public hearing. Will the city clerk please stay on the first item?
Mayor, that first item A is consideration of a resolution authorizing the transmittal of a draft capital improvements element 2023 annual update relating to the city's impact fee program to the Atlanta Regional Commission for Regional and State Review. It's agenda item number 223-223. This item will be heard under public hearing only tonight, and a vote will follow at a future meeting, perhaps in October. Our Community Development Director, Mr. Bob Buscemi.
Good evening, Mayor and Council again. Yeah, this is more of a formality. We have to have a public hearing in order to do the transmittal to ARC for the CIE report. It's an annual update. It's pretty much formality. We do it every year. I will tell the council that we're doing pretty good with the CIE. And we're up to date on all our programs, and everything's going really great. I got a page here from Ross and Associates if anybody has any specific questions. But the timing on this is important, because if we do it now, the end of October is when it has to come back approved. So it gives everybody a little time to transmit and get it all reviewed by ARC staff. Any questions?
Any questions for Bob? No. Okay, so we'll vote on this in October. Do we have any public comment?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, so I'll close the public hearing, and will city clerk please stay on the next item?
Mayor, that next item is consideration of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to Bev Shop LLC, doing business as Beverage Shop. It's located at 13800 Highway 9 North Suite South, Milton, Georgia. It is agenda item number 23224. This item will be voted on tonight immediately after the close of the public hearing. I'm sorry.
Paige is reminding me that you do have to have a vote on the approval for the transmittal.
Okay,
Have a vote on that,
Right,
if we can,
okay.
if you don't mind.
so let's go back to that.
I apologize.
Okay, so Jeff, are we good just going back to that and just opening up for a motion to vote on that agenda item? Or does it need to be, I closed the public hearing, so.
Only under public hearing. Resolute. What are they voting on, Bob? They're considering a resolution authorizing the transmittal of the CIE. If they vote on this resolution, hi Paige, if they vote on this resolution tonight, is it being transmitted, or are they seeing it again under new business in October?
Right, and so typically at the conclusion of the public hearing, that authorizes council to consider approving the transmittal resolution. And then yes, in October, we do come back for formal adoption once the document's been reviewed and approved by DCA. We just need to get it in the pipeline to the state.
Understood.
So I'm still confused about what we're approving.
So
Yeah.
what you're approving tonight, think of it almost like an application. You're approving the transmittal over to DCA so they can review our CIE. Then they review it, they give us their feedback, and then it'll appear again before you in October, either under new or unfinished business.
All right,
Technology.
thank you.
Well, I guess my question is, we close the public hearing. Are we okay with reopening it, or you just want to go straight to a motion?
The public hearing portion can be closed without the action. You
Okay.
can then take action on it.
Okay. All right, we'll open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve agenda item number 23-223.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Cookerly and a second from Councilmember Johnson to approve agenda item number 23-223. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you, appreciate it. All right, will the city clerk please stay on the next item?
Mayor, that next item is consideration of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to Bev Shop LLC, doing business as Beverage Shop, located at 13800 Highway 9 North Suite South in Milton. It's agenda item number 23224. We will be voting on this item immediately after the close of the public hearing. Our Finance Director, Ms. Karen Ellis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The first alcohol license we have for this evening is the Beverage Shop LLC, doing business as Beverage Shop. This is a new owner, an existing business at 13800 Highway 9 North, Suite S. They are applying for retail package wine, malt beverage, distilled spirits, also resident caterer, and packaged Sunday sales. This was advertised in the Milton Herald on August 10th and August 17th of 2023. There you see the sign. Here is where the business is located in relation to other alcohol beverage licensees off of Highway 9 in the Publix Plaza. Do you have any questions on this item?
Any questions for Karen? Any public comment?
None on this item, Mayor.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. I'll open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make motion we approve agenda item number 23-224.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Morg to approve agenda item number 23-224. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Will the city clerk please say on the next item?
The next item is item C, consideration of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to Whitetail Bicycles, Inc., located at 1885 Heritage Walk in Milton. Agenda item number 23-225. This item will also be voted immediately after the close of the public hearing tonight. And our Finance Director, Ms. Karen Ellis.
This alcohol license up for council review, mayor and council review, is for Whitetails Bicycles, Inc. This is just for a refresher, this is for limited tap, where they do not sell food prepared on the premises. They provide a limited selection of craft beer on tap for consumption on premises only. They may have 5 or fewer taps. Consumption is limited to 48 ounces for any individual within a calendar day, and they are prohibited from Sunday sales license. This item was advertised in the Milton Herald also on August 10th and August 17th of 2023. This is an existing business which has just relocated to a different area. This application, though, is currently closed with just the one applicant. And here's where the business is located, along Heritage Walk, right behind us. If you have any questions on this item, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions for Karen? Any public comment?
There are none on this item,
Okay,
sir.
close public hearing and open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion we approve agenda item number 23-225.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Cookerly, second from Councilmember Jacobus to approve agenda item number 23-225. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Will the
Thank
city
you.
clerk please say on the next item?
Mayor, that next item is consideration of an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Milton, Georgia, to establish the ad valorem tax rate of the city of Milton for fiscal year 2024 and for other purposes. It is agenda item number 23-202. This item will be voted on momentarily under unfinished business after the public hearing. Our deputy city manager, Ms. Bernadette Harville.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are here this evening to discuss setting the 2023 millage rate, which will fund fiscal year 2024 activity. This will be our third of 3 required public hearings. And I will go through the presentation. We've been through it twice before, so I will kind of go through it a little quicker than we have in the last 2 meetings, but please feel free to stop me if you have any questions along the way. Again, what we've been talking about is the definitions that support the conversation we're having, the requirements of the open meetings and advertising per the state. We discussed different millage rate options and showed what the difference of the revenue projections under those different millage rate options would be. We looked at our anticipated revenues as well as the projected fiscal year 2024 budget summary. Those have been updated to reflect what we talked about in the proposed budget workshop last Monday. We talk about ways to reduce your property tax liability as a property owner here in Milton that also resides in that property as your primary residence, how to calculate your tax bill and the value of your tax dollars to the city of Milton. Again, talking about a mill, the mill is $1 per $1,000 of assessed property value, or 0.001 times that assessed value. The fair market value is the estimate of the market value of your property as determined by the Fulton County Board of Assessors. Only the Fulton County Board of Assessors, no other estimates that you may have seen from any realtors or any other agencies. The assessor taxable value is 40% of that market value, and you take that and you reduce that by your exemptions that you're eligible for and multiply that by your millage rate, and you get your taxes that you owe to the city of Milton. The rollback rate comes from that PT 32.1 that Fulton County provides to us with the digest data that they provide. And we take the previous year's millage rate and we reduce that by the millage equivalent, which we'll talk about in a moment. And we take that to the net assessed value added by reassessments, and we get the rollback rate. That is the millage rate that should be revenue neutral to the previous year. The millage equivalent is the equation where the reassessment of existing real property is divided by the current year's net digest and then multiplied by the prior year's millage rate, kind of taking that inflation number into consideration. So whenever the advertised millage rate exceeds the rollback rate, the city must hold 3 public hearings. We did advertise at our current millage rate, giving council the opportunity to adopt any millage rate up to that 4.469 mils without the need to have any further advertisements or public hearings. Again, you can adopt any millage rate up to the legal cap of 4.731 mils. We would just need to host additional public hearings and have those advertised. We had our first presentation and our first of the 3 public hearings back on August 7th. We had our second public hearing last Monday, immediately following our work session. And tonight we're here for our 3rd and final public hearing. And if you choose to adopt a millage rate anywhere up to 4.469 mils, we will also have the adoption of the budget tonight here under unfinished, the millage rate here tonight under unfinished business. Here's the ad that we put in the Milton Herald. This ad ran on July 27th and August 3rd. This is the advertisement showing the rollback rate and the difference in the millage equivalent of 0.08 mils, which is 1.82% increase between the rollback rate and the current millage rate of 4.469 mils. Our second advertisement that was required was also published in that August 3rd paper, and that shows the history of levy at a projected 100% collection rate. Here's a snip from our digest figures from Fulton County for the PT 32.1. You can see the column here where that assessment of real existing property comes into play and calculates our rollback rate for us. We have the math behind the ads. I won't go through each one, but this shows you in detail if you'd like to see exactly how we come up with those figures. Again, 0.08 mils was our millage equivalent. 4.389 is our rollback rate calculated this year. And the percent tax increase between the current millage rate and that rollback rate is 1.82%. For the 5-year history of levy ads, we have the digest figures from our current year net digest times the advertised millage rate, again, the current millage rate, and that equals our taxes levied at $16,045,645. And that would be an 11.6% increase over last year's levy if we were to adopt a 4.469 millage rate. Staff has prepared a couple of different millage rate options for council to consider. Again, council can consider anything they would like up to that 4.469 mils in order to adopt this evening. Our current millage rate is at 4.469 mils. Our forecasted budget tied most closely for our largest revenue line item of current year real property to 4.395 mils. Again, that is a 97% collection in year 1 typically. Our rollback millage of 4.389 mils. And then we have our separately calculated green space bond millage rate calculated at 0.364 mils this year to collect the revenue needed to pay the debt service due in fiscal year 2024. If we vote later this evening to adopt a millage rate, I ask that you adopt both a maintenance and operating millage rate as well as a green space bond millage rate for us. Here we have the projected revenue collections in year 1. Again, historically, real property has come in at about 97% collections in year 1 of what has been reported on the PT 32.1 versus what we have collected. Personal property comes in closer to that 65%. Motor vehicle historically was around 50 to 55. We've been seeing increases, so we have increased that projection to 70%. So that would need to be adjusted based on any millage rate adopted this evening in the budget. We shared with you the differences between the different millage rate options. As you can see, the largest variance is between 4.469 mils and that 4.395 mil, or sorry, that 4.389 mils at $276,708 or 1.82%. And there's a smaller variance between that 4.395 mils versus 4.389 mils at $20,753 or 0.14%. For your reference, we have the original adopted budget for real property right there at $14,544,199. We have the amended budget, which was reduced by about $723,000 due to the forecast for floating homestead exemptions. So our real property budget we're anticipating this year is at $13,820,743. And again, property tax collections as of 8/1 was right in line with that, and we're planning to collect the difference between now and the end of the fiscal year. We have our general fund budget summary here for you, which includes all the discussions we had last Monday and has been updated to reflect those figures. A closer detailed look at where those revenue line items are. So we have our current year real property, our personal property tax for current year, as well as the motor vehicle tax. Those three numbers were forecasted last summer in our 5-year forecast, and we're put into the plan. Whichever millage rate is adopted tonight, all three of those lines will be adjusted accordingly. Again, we do understand that our community is supported primarily by residential property taxes. We do have opportunities for savings for those homeowners. We have our basic homestead exemption where you can apply at the county and $15,000 come off of your taxable rate. That is for if you live in your home as your primary residence and there are no age or income restrictions. Becoming qualified for that also qualifies you for the floating homestead exemption, which caps the taxable growth at 3% or the CPI, whichever is higher, or whichever is lower, apologize. And then you have the senior exemptions you can apply for right here at the City of Milton. If you're 65 and older, no income limits apply any longer. You can get $25,000 off both the M&O and bond side. When you reach age 70, and your household income is $100,000 or less, you get a full value exemption from the City of Milton. You pay $0 in City of Milton taxes on the bond or the M&O side. And similarly, on the disability exemption side, if you have a certified disability by a licensed physician and meet the income qualification, which last year was around $80,280, I believe, you also get a full value exemption from the City of Milton. This is a more detailed explanation of how the floating exemption works. We've gone over it a couple of times. It basically shows you that any growth in the assessed value from Fulton County will be netted out in an exemption from the counties when you get your bill. So you won't see that on your assessment, but it does come over as an exemption. We also have for those conservation use properties, the CUVA ability to reduce some of your property tax liability, looking at the actual use of your property as opposed to the fair market value of your property. Again, there's a maximum of 2,000 acres to that. And if you have less than 10, there's a little more scrutiny on your application, but you can still apply. You do have a 10-year agreement on this. So you have to be looking to stay in your property and keep it at that use for approximately 10 years to qualify, or else you have to pay back some of the value. Again, we ask that our property owners understand that when they get their assessment notice earlier in the year, that they cannot use that at that time to really project their tax dollar or their tax bill. The county does not have our millage rate, as we have not yet adopted one this year, so they plug in last year's millage rate. They do not keep per parcel exemption data for our parcels, and also they do not show the floating exemption. So we just ask that everybody make sure that these reflect the fair market value that they believe is most fair to their property, and then contact the city if they have any questions about their exemptions. Looking at the math to see the difference in what your tax bill would be, just using the fair market value of a average home value of $700,000 with a $15,000 basic exemption, not counting the floating one this time, just to show the simple math. You can see again the difference between the 4.469 mils at $1,184.29 and the 4.389 mils at $1,163.09 would be a 1.82% difference. Again, taking that 4.469 mils, the current millage rate, at a $700,000 fair market value with a $15,000 exemption, you would annually be looking at that $1,184 bill. Monthly, that breaks down to $98.69, and daily $3.24 to provide these city services, including our PAYGO program through the Capital Projects Fund. And then taking that and looking at what percentage goes to each category, about 42% going to our public safety, and then the next highest being 19% for our PAYGO program, and then 16% for our general administration, including things like finance, human resources, and things like that. I am happy to answer any questions, but that does conclude our third of 3 public hearings.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, I know we'll vote on this a little later. Bernadette, you've done a wonderful job. I know preparing the budget before the millage rate is much easier for all of us. Any council discussion? I know we'll go into a vote right now. Okay. Yeah.
No.
All right. So there's no zoning agenda. Moving on to unfinished business. So will city clerk please stay on the item?
Mayor, the items consideration of an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Milton, Georgia, to establish the ad valorem tax rate of the city of Milton for fiscal year 2024 and for other purposes. Agenda item number 23202. Mayor?
Do you have anything else, Ms.
I
Bernadette?
think I will be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Appreciate it. I know it's great that we can, I support the full back of the rolling back of the millage rate, and we can still support all the services and capital projects, and it's good stuff. 2 years in a row, we've been able to
So
reduce the millage rate,
which number? 4.3?
4.389.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the millage rate at 4.389.
And do the
Second.
green space bond too.
And the green space bond at 0.364.
The 0.3.
Second?
Okay, that was a tiebreaker there. All right. So we have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus, a second from Councilmember Morrig to approve agenda item 23-202, saying the millage rate at 4.389 and the green space bond at 0.364. Is that correct? Everybody good? Okay. Any council discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Councilor Morrig?
Could I just ask one
Yes.
question? You don't have to answer it for today, but I noticed we implemented the senior homestead exemptions that expanded. Do we know what the impact is this year? How many people have actually signed up for both the 70 or older, the disability, and the age 65? Do we know what the financial impact is and what the
I do
participation
have that.
rate is?
It has grown, and if you would give me the opportunity, I can bring you some numbers to show you what that's looking like next time.
I
But we
would
have a
just
whole
be-
spreadsheet prepared that our team has put together, and it has grown, especially with values growing. I'll get you a count change and a value change.
That's perfect. That, just to kind of get an idea of trend. But it sounds
They've
like
been busy in
even
finance.
with that, we're helping our people, our residents that are in fixed income or should be, they're getting into retirement age. The other question too, if you could also look at, and I'm assuming probably not much has happened, any new CUVAs? Has anybody come forward to Fulton County to get the CUVA exemption, or are we just dealing with what's already there?
I can ask about that. We do not see that directly. What we see is the value of the conservation exemption on the digest, and I can get you those value changes, but I can reach out and see if they have application numbers that they've been seeing changes in.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot about that. That used to be a big deal when we had a lot of large parcels, but I'm not hearing.
Yeah,
I'm
I
hearing
can
people
look back.
continuing to extend, but not adding new ones.
I can absolutely look at the digest and kind of see how the trend of that has gone, and I'll add that to that
If
presentation.
it's simple. If
Yep,
it's-
I've got
if
the other
it's
one prepared, so
complex,
it's just
don't.
adding one line.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is new business. Will City Clerk please sound the item?
Mayor, that next business item is consideration of a final plat. The name of the development is Whisper Woods, located on New Providence Road. It's land lot 847 and 848, it's District 2, Section 2. It is a final plat for 5 single-family lots with a total of 11.492 acres with a density of 0.44 lots per acre. It's agenda item number 23226. Our Land Development Manager, Ms. Tracy Wilds.
Good evening. This is the final plat for Whisper Woods at Milton for your consideration tonight. It is located in the northwest corner of Birmingham Highway and New Providence Road roundabout, just north of Atlanta National Subdivision and opposite to the west of Providence Point, which is another development that's under construction right now as well. A couple of pictures from that roundabout. On the right, New Providence Road looking north to the property. On the bottom of the slide, a west view from Birmingham Road as you look west to New Providence Road. This is a 5-lot, single-family lot development across 11.492 acres. It is a private gated subdivision with detention to manage stormwater on a separate lot that's accessible from Birmingham Highway. Lot sizes range from 1.208 acres to 2.63 acres.
We do have building permits already submitted for this development. So should this be accepted tonight, you will see vertical construction happening pretty soon at that area. A couple of more site images, the entrance signage to Whisper Woods and the gang mailbox in the common area of the development. I do have the developer here tonight, should you have any questions for staff and/or the applicant. Yes.
Just a question on location. Is this the corner that used to be affectionately called Kudzu Corner?
It
This
is.
is the cleaned up. Okay, so this
It
actually,
is.
this will be a new development of 5 lots in a gated community.
That's correct.
That's
That's
great.
correct. All the LDP work has been completed, and it's they've done a great job with it.
That's great. Thank you.
Tracy, I have a question for you, please.
Okay.
Can you go back to the depiction of the lot numbers 1 through 5?
Yes.
I can't tell from what I'm seeing what the frontage is on 1 and 5. Do you expect that the orientation of those homes will be to the internal street, or will it be an orientation to New Providence Road?
Councilmember Moore, let me confirm that with the developer.
Yeah, I'd like to understand.
Okay,
that if we
yes,
could this evening.
Councilmember Moore, those houses will front Whisper Court, which is the internal
Great.
road and drive into the development.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council discussion or questions for Tracy? Do we have any public comment?
Not on this item, sir, no.
Okay, we'll close public comment. I'll open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion, we approve agenda item number 23-226.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Morg to approve agenda item number 23-226. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's 6-0 with Councilmember Johnson absent. Okay. We will move on. So any mayor and any council, hold on a second. I'm ahead of myself. City clerk, please say on the next item.
Mayor, that next item is consideration of a resolution of the City of Milton, Georgia, authorizing issuance of a 7-day notice of termination of consulting contract with Renetta Keith Nurden and termination of said contract and approving consulting contract with Lavinia White. It's agenda item number 23-227. Our city manager, Mr. Stephen Krokoff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In my capacity as election superintendent, I have been graciously provided the services of an independent contractor to act as an elections consultant. Since June, that election consultant has been Renetta Nurden. At this point, I'm asking that the council authorize the discontinuance of the existing election consultant relationship with Ms. Nurden and retain a new election consultant. I want to thank Ms. Nurden for her service. Council members, the resolution before you this evening will authorize the issuance of the 7-day notice of discontinuation of the Nurden consulting contract. Following 7 days after that notice has been received, the Nurden contract will stand terminated, and effective immediately, this resolution will approve an election consulting contract with Lavinia White. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Steve before public comment?
No.
Okay, Ms. City Clerk, any public comment?
We do, Mayor. Ms. Nurden, Ms. Vernetta Nurden.
Hi.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you so much for your time, Honorable Jameson and council members. I am Vernetta Keith Nuruddin. I served as one of 5 election superintendent for Fulton County.
Will you please state your address for the record?
Yes, 1233 Spring Park Drive, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia, 30311.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I volunteered to be placed in consideration for this position back in February, and mainly because of my love of Georgia and Georgians. You guys have a beautiful city up here. I really admire the work that you do and appreciate each of you. I just learned today about 4:15 that this was on the agenda. I did not know. I haven't talked to Mr. Krokoff's. We haven't met in person since July 17th. I will say that this undertaking is so important and so important to me because it's so much bigger than the work we have here. The people I've met here have been great people, and I think that they care about Georgians and care about the residents in Milton. I don't support this resolution as I am a certified elections official and a registrar, and I have years of experience to bring. And the reason why people sought me out to volunteer for this position is that they knew that no matter what, whether it is, people trying to discredit my work or second guessing everything I do and say, I absolutely will continue with diplomacy to provide this service to the city of Milton. I must say, I was surprised to get the phone calls that I got from your neighbors telling me about this resolution. I did not know. And I will say that despite my best efforts, I couldn't build a relationship that I wanted to with Mr. Krakoff, and this is not what I want. I also would like to add that I pretty much was radio silent with the council from June 5th until that very first email in response to Mr. Gerard, the city attorney. And then you probably just got a lot of emails from me because I really wanted this process, and I still believe that this process should be open and transparent, and I don't believe that it is now. I will say, I say it with a heavy heart that on August 15th, I actually reported Mr. Gerard to the Georgia State Bar as a result of the May 1st resolution that this body passed. You may or may not know, I'm sure he may have told you, when you guys passed the May 1st resolution, changing the election day polls for all municipal elections, that resolution was done improperly. It was one of the first things that I mentioned when I started working here on June 5th. And since we did have time to fix that problem, I just, remain steadfast that if I continue the communication, that we would actually get there. I know that this process is bigger than me on the elections team and even this council, and moving forward, we can provide a paper ballot hand count election. And it can be done and it can be replicated for people to follow long after you guys are gone, long after I'm gone. I have no stake. I have no skin in this game. I can't vote in this election. I'm nonpartisan as it relates to who gets elected. And I believed, it was just with a heavy heart to do that. I didn't want to, but I really believe that an elections attorney is needed here. I said that before I started. I said it in an email to this body several times, as well as to Mr. Krakoff. And, I really do. My biggest regret is that me and Steve actually couldn't get to a place where we could work together. And I guess I gotta own the part because I couldn't get him there. And I believe that Tammy and Stacy are amazing. And I will say that they actually didn't take their oaths when they became registrar and assistant superintendent, so that must be done. And I just respect all of you, and I know that we can do this job. Lavinia is not certified. I don't even know.
Time's expired.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Will you please call the next speaker?
I invite Ms. Lisa Cawley to the podium, please.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Cawley. I live at 14680 Freemanville Road. On the agenda tonight is the consideration of a resolution to replace the current consultant. I have some questions for council, which I feel the community needs clarification. Many in the community are questioning the city's integrity and decisions due to the false narrative and information shared on social media and also perpetuated in the Milton Herald over the past year. The city has yet to address and correct this. The city's inability and willingness to manage the false information is bewildering. How does the city manager's request and decision to replace the current consultant maintain or increase the community's confidence and trust in the running of our elections? Instead, in my opinion, it will further subvert. The city manager stated at the July 24th council meeting, mechanically, we can definitely run our own election. We have a multitude of very committed people that have been working behind the scenes, helping us to get where we are right now. But some of what I've communicated to you all, trust and legitimacy are a critical piece. They are actually more important than the financial piece at the end of the day. And it is important that if we move forward, we can maintain that level of trust and legitimacy with our community. As noted by Councilman Carol Cookerly, we owe it to the citizenry to have an open and streamlined process as possible. For transparency and openness, shouldn't the community know the reasons for replacing the current consultant? What is the city's procedure for hiring contracted consultants? Should this position be put out to bid? Is there a procurement process? How many individuals were interviewed by the city manager for the consultant position in person? The council indicated that the contracted consultant position is critical for the success of our election. However, the city manager told me on August 2nd in a meeting that he had never interviewed the current consultant. The city manager put the consultant on the June 5th consent agenda. Who has authority to place an item on the consent agenda? What does it mean to place an item on the consent agenda? Was the entire council aware the city manager did not interview or meet the consultant in person before he put the hiring of the consultant on the consent agenda requesting approval? I am asking the council to consider these decisions on this agenda item. If the council wishes to move forward with another person as a consultant, is it proper protocol to place this position out to bid and be properly interviewed? The criteria and qualifications for this contracted consultant should remain high, as initially directed by council. A change now should not be made due to poor decisions, planning, and timeframe. Councilman Jan Jacobus said at the previous council meeting on March 20th, it would be dangerous for the superintendent to run this election without someone qualified and experienced. The danger is the perception the city creates through poor decisions, mismanagement, and not addressing false information. This is our first election, and the citizenry has high expectations in order to trust and have confidence in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you please call
Concludes
next?
public comment.
Okay. I will close the public comment period and open it for a motion or any council discussion or questions. Okay, with that, I'll open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve agenda item number 23-227.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Cookerly to approve agenda item number 23-227. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so we will move on to mayor and council reports. Does council have anything to say? Councilmember Morgan?
Yep, I've got a brief one. Our city and city council, since its founding in 2006, has had the stance and deliberate and intentional focus on building a community in Milton and a city government that is principled, ethical, representative of our residents. That includes using the financial resources, AKA taxes, efficiently. We also have always focused on transparent communications at the city staff level, city committee and board meetings, in our city council member communications and meetings. There have been some errors or false narratives in the last year surrounding our local municipal elections initiative and what actually transpired with the Milton Elections Feasibility Study Committee. This committee construct of 2 citizen representatives, 2 city staff members, and 2 city council members. This was at the suggestion of the city manager. The work committee and initiative was approved on 11/15/2021 in a council discussion during a scheduled city council meeting. We had lots of public comment as well as healthy discussion by council before arriving at a collective decision to move forward with the Milton Election Feasibility Study Committee. The stated goals were twofold. Number one, look at the state's rules and required statutes and processes to see if we felt that Milton could take on this initiative versus executing an IGA, as we had in the past with Fulton County, to administer our municipal elections. Milton has always, quote unquote, owned our municipal elections. Fulton County was never responsible for the election. We merely contracted with them through an IGA, and that has been stated very clearly by the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections, both in the December 2022 timeframe and also more recently in February of 2023. It was an open discussion between the board members, and there was even discussion suggesting that the municipalities take over their own elections and Fulton County divest of it. Secondly, we wanted to do an in-depth analysis of all election costs that the city would likely incur to see if we could do this and save money. A number of our residents were wanting us to do this since Fulton County increased our average cost to run our election in 2021 by 103% over previous years. The city manager in that meeting in November of 2021 stated that this initial group was being formed as an informal feasibility study group, and it was not a formal city committee, at least initially. Paul Fricke was legal counsel for the city at this meeting, and he stated that this is an informal committee and we would be ready to roll as soon as council approved it. The mayor declared, our previous mayor, after discussion, that so it's unanimous without a vote. The city manager stated he'd start on the process. He saw this as no different than initiating any other kind of project. So just to clarify, there were no secret hidden meetings of this study group. And also, this was discussed and approved by council with legal staff consent. Just for a little bit of, I'll briefly give the history. So on December 3rd, the city manager scheduled our first committee meeting where, again, we had 2 staff members, we had 2 council members, we had 2 citizen reps. And it was kicked off by Steve. We went over the agenda items and action items. We actually assigned some action items for individuals on the committee. We had talked about getting a repository where we could collect and hold on to our work items. As this informal group, we weren't subject to the open meetings record where we had to do formal meeting notes or minutes. Our second meeting was on January 11th, 2022. We had a published agenda, and we did updates to the things that all of us, the 6 members, signed up for different activities. Same thing occurred on January 25th. The last meeting that we had was on February 8th. We did have agenda, we did have items, and we were saving our work for all of the committee to look at a SharePoint site that was on the city server. It was also on the 21st of March, that's when legal counsel suggested that we pause our informal meetings and we canceled future informal meetings, both for March 22nd and April 5th. And then he suggested that we actually make this a formal committee, bring it before council, and then start doing open meetings, which we had discussed this back in 2021 as an option. I know the current mayor had suggested that we do this. So legal counsel brought it forward, and on April 18th, the city council unanimously approved the committee as it was constructed and with our goals and stated purpose. On June 15th, we had our official meeting after formalizing. And at that point, we had done a domain change in the city, and Stacy, our deputy city manager, had gone to Ken Gerard, our legal counsel, and asked, can we put a new SharePoint site? Because there was a problem with licensing or access with the old SharePoint site that we had used as a repository. So the old SharePoint, we were told, was not available. However, on June 18th, one of our committee members was able to actually access that initial SharePoint site and worked with the deputy city manager where we could actually download the documents because they were still out there. We downloaded those work items, the things that we had been working on, and then we were able to upload them to the new SharePoint site. So the reason for my report is we've heard different things from, I've had calls from people saying what were these secret meetings? There were no secret meetings. These were scheduled meetings. The agenda was published. It's available if you were to do a search. I'm assuming if you did a search during that time frame, you would see the agendas that were published. And also, if we went to the SharePoint site, the items that we actually did in those meetings would also be saved because we, in fact, were able to import them. So people are saying that this was secret. There was nothing that was there. And the bottom line is there was nothing nefarious or trying to work in this. We simply were trying to pull together and see if we could do a feasibility study. Can we in fact save money? Can we meet the state requirements? And that's what the 6 of us were charged to do. 2 of them actually being the deputy city manager and our city clerk. That was the work item that we went after. So the reason I'm taking a little bit of time just to go through this is I want to state for the record, this is the truth of what happened. It's verifiable. You can go out, you can get the information. I actually printed things. They're in my email. They're on the city server. So I just wanted to clarify for the record that some of the things that the Election Feasibility Study Committee, all 6 of us have been accused of doing, it's not true. And then once we started again in the June timeframe, we had open meetings and we actually kept minutes and then we recorded all those things, our action items on the SharePoint site. So thank you for indulging me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Morg. Any other council reports today?
I have one.
Councilor Cookerly?
Yeah, mine's not as important, but just to make notice that my husband, Robert Beal, and I purchased the property at Birmingham and Freemanville where the new roundabout is going to go. Why? I really don't know, other than I didn't want to see it go into development. It was for sale. It's an old stone house. And the reason I'm bringing this up is you're going to see a lot of land work there. It's very overgrown, which a lot of it I like, but there's a lot of big pine trees that are going to be coming down and it's going to look like hell for a number of months. Like it's going to look really, really bad. So when people call we got this. A lot of trees are going back in. I'm going to make it, the canopy is going to be wonderful, but these giant pine trees and the pastures and all this other stuff are going to be coming out. So just FYI, nobody needs to be alarmed, but it's going to look bad and you're going to see a lot of bulldozers.
Thank you, Councilman Cookerly.
You're quite welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other council reports?
I do.
Okay, Councilman Jacobus?
Yeah, I just have to thank Bernadette again for walking me through everything that goes into the millage rate. I know I must drive her crazy with my questions and so forth, but
She likes your compliments, though. She
Yes.
likes your compliments.
She has
enjoy
the
the
patience of a
conversation,
saint. So I just really appreciate that and all that staff did. A lot of the public doesn't see all the meetings that we got to go through so that we were well informed about everything that went into this year's budget. And I really think the system you set up for this year worked really well. And I felt very comfortable in what we were doing. So thank you. Appreciate it. And
Amen.
staff.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Amen.
All right, any other council?
I just one comment to bridge off from that. Steve, we had talked to you for a couple of years about trying to do it early. You and your staff stepped up, did the prep, and this actually made us much more prepared as a council, even with newer council members on, to understand the budget process. So thank you, and thank you, Bernadette, for doing that.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll like to have a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss personnel, land acquisition, and potential litigation. Do I have a
Mr.
motion?
Mayor, I make a motion that we adjourn to go into executive session to.
That's fine.
Okay, thanks. You got it.
Got a motion from
Back to
Councilor
your regular.
Cookerly and a second from Councilmember Morgan. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
trick now is to get back to the moon.
And Jacobus, you say second?
Yep.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Can I get a motion to?
Aye.
Yep, see y'all later.
Thank you.
Good night.